They left, and it hurt in a way that's hard to describe, like something was ripped out of you. You spent weeks, maybe months, trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out what you did wrong, trying to understand how someone who said they loved you could just disappear like that. And then they came back. A text, a call, a message that says they miss you, that they've changed, that they made a mistake, that nobody understands them the way you do. And something in you, some part that still loves them, that still remembers the good times, that still wants the version of them you fell in love with, starts to hope. Don't. Not yet. Not until you understand what's actually happening. Because here's the truth that nobody tells you. When a narcissist comes back, it has nothing to do with love. It has nothing to do with missing you as a person. And it has absolutely nothing to do with change. What's happening is something far more calculated, far more psychological, and far more important to understand. Because once you do, the confusion disappears completely. When a narcissist comes back, it has nothing to do with love. It has nothing to do with missing you as a person. And it has absolutely nothing to do with change.
Let's start with the foundation. What is a narcissist actually looking for in a relationship? Not connection, not intimacy, not the kind of love that most people seek. Narcissists, specifically those with narcissistic personality disorder or significant narcissistic traits, are driven by something psychologists call narcissistic supply. Narcissists are driven by something psychologists call narcissistic supply. It's the constant need for attention, admiration, validation, and emotional reaction from other people. The constant need for attention, admiration, validation, and emotional reaction from other people. Positive or negative, praise or anger, devotion or devastation. All of it feeds the same hunger. All of it confirms their sense of superiority and specialness. And without it, their psychological system begins to destabilize. Without it, their psychological system begins to destabilize. Not sadness, not loneliness exactly, more like a void that needs to be filled constantly from the outside because there is no stable sense of self on the inside. Think of narcissistic supply the way you'd think of oxygen. Most people can go without a compliment for a week and feel fine. A narcissist cannot go without supply for long without feeling a deep, unbearable internal emptiness. A void that needs to be filled constantly from the outside because there is no stable sense of self on the inside. And this is the first reason they come back. Because you were a reliable source. You gave them attention. You reacted. You cared. You tried. You fought to make it work.
Every text you sent, every tear you cried, every conversation you had trying to fix things was supply. And now that source has gone quiet, and the void is growing. Psychologists call this the Hoover maneuver, named after the vacuum cleaner brand, because that's exactly what it is. The narcissist comes back to suck you back in, not because they've realized your worth, but because their current supply, whatever new person or situation they moved on to, isn't filling the void the way you did, or because the new supply hasn't started yet, or because they want to keep you as a backup, or because they need something specific, emotional validation, practical help, the ego boost of knowing they can still reach you. Because their current supply isn't filling the void the way you did, or because they want to keep you as a backup. The Hoover rarely looks like manipulation. That's what makes it so effective. It looks like vulnerability. It looks like regret. It looks like the person you always wanted them to be finally showing up. The Hoover rarely looks like manipulation. It looks like vulnerability. They say exactly the right things. They reference the exact memories that meant the most to you. They seem to understand, finally, what they did wrong.
and they seem to be asking for another chance with genuine humility. But here's what the research shows. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that narcissists are exceptionally skilled at short-term impression management. They can perform remorse, warmth, and change convincingly, particularly with people who already have an emotional history with them.
Narcissists are exceptionally skilled at short-term impression management. They know what you needed to hear, and they use that knowledge with surgical precision. This is not cruelty for its own sake. It's survival. Their psychological survival. Because underneath the grandiosity, underneath the confidence, underneath the person who seemed so sure of themselves, there is a profound fragility. Underneath the grandiosity, there is a profound fragility. A self-concept so unstable that it requires constant external reinforcement. You, with your empathy, your patience, your capacity to see the best in people, you were one of the best sources of reinforcement they ever found. Now let's talk about why you almost always want to believe them, and why that's not weakness. It's neuroscience. Research on trauma bonding shows that relationships with narcissists create a specific neurological pattern in the brain. The cycle of idealization, devaluation, and discard, followed by the hoover, creates intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement is the most powerful behavioral conditioning pattern known to psychology. More addictive than consistent reward. More compelling than consistent punishment. Your brain, after a relationship with a narcissist, has been neurologically conditioned to respond to their return the way a gambler responds to a slot machine. Your brain has been neurologically conditioned to respond to their return the way a gambler responds to a slot machine. Hope, anticipation, the possibility of the jackpot.
Their return doesn't just feel like an opportunity, it feels like relief, like the pain might finally be over, like the version of them you fell in love with is coming back, and your nervous system, which has been dysregulated for months, responds with a flood of dopamine and oxytocin that feels exactly like love being restored. Your nervous system responds with a flood of dopamine and oxytocin that feels exactly like love being restored. It isn't. It's your nervous system responding to a familiar pattern, and the pattern leads back to the same place it always did. Because here's what the research consistently shows about narcissistic behavior in relationships. The pattern doesn't change without years of consistent, intensive therapeutic work, which most narcissists never seek because they rarely believe they're the problem. The pattern doesn't change without years of consistent, intensive therapeutic work. What changes is the presentation. The hoover is a new presentation of the same pattern. Once you're back in the relationship, the cycle restarts, often faster than the first time, because the narcissist now knows exactly how much they can get away with. But here's the part that most people miss. Understanding why they came back is not the same as understanding what you should do about it. Because the answer to why did they come back, narcissistic supply, the hoover cycle, psychological survival, does not tell you whether reconnecting is right for you. Only you can make that decision, with full information, with clear eyes, without the fog of hope and trauma bonding distorting what you're actually seeing. People who understand the narcissistic cycle before re-engaging make significantly better decisions. They observe behavior instead of believing words.
They watch for the pattern to restart, because it will, and they recognize it when it does. And some of them, with clear eyes and full information, still choose to re-engage. That's a personal decision, but it's a different kind of decision than the one made in hope and confusion. It's a decision made with knowledge, and knowledge is the only protection that actually works. So, if they've come back, if your phone lit up with their name and your heart did something complicated, know this: that reaction is human, normal, neurologically understandable, and not a sign of weakness. It's the result of a bond that your brain formed under conditions it was never designed to navigate clearly. But also know this:
What they want from you and what you need from them are not the same thing. They never were. And understanding that, really understanding it at the level where it changes how you see what's happening, is the beginning of the only kind of freedom that actually lasts. You were never the problem. You were the supply. And you are worth so much more than that. Hit subscribe if this explains something you've been trying to understand for a long time. And if you want to know exactly how narcissists choose their targets and why empathetic people are always first, that video is next.